Aloud, and today we're going to be reading this fun story called The Little Match Girl. Let's get started! It was late on a bitterly cold and snowy New Year's Eve. A poor little girl was wandering around in the cold streets. She was barefoot. When she left her house, she was wearing shoes, but they were too big for her little feet. Earlier on, she lost them while running fast on the icy streets, chased by wild dogs. She was now standing on the corner of a very busy street. "Matches to sell! Matches to sell!" She tried to draw attention to her. People were passing by, but no one looked at her and no one stopped. They were all thinking about their last-minute preparations, elegant dresses, and rich dinner parties. "If only I sold some boxes of matches, I could go home," thought the poor girl. She was hungry and trembling with cold. The snowflakes fell upon her long blonde hair, which curled prettily around her face. Lights were shining merrily from every window, and there was a most delicious smell of roasted goose floating in the air. She sat down, drawing her feet under her thin clothes. But she was colder than ever. She didn't dare to go home empty-handed. Her family needed every single penny she could earn. Besides, it was almost as cold at home as it was here. They lived in a hut on the outskirts of the big city. They only had a patched-up roof over them, and the wind whistled through it, although they had stuffed up the biggest cracks with some rags. "Matches to sell! Matches to sell!" People were passing by, but no one looked at her, and no one stopped. Her little hands were almost dead with cold. One little match would do so much good, she thought. She pulled one match out of the bundle and struck it on a wall. How it spluttered, how it blazed! It burned with a bright, clear flame, just like a candle. The little girl closed her eyes and pretended to be sitting in front of a big stove with polished brass feet and handles. There was a splendid fire blazing in it, warming her so beautifully, but just as she was about stretching out her feet to warm them out went the match. The stove vanished and she was left sitting in the cold with a burned-out match in her hand. She struck a new one. How it spluttered, how it blazed! Where the light fell upon the wall, she could see right through it into the room. The table was spread with a snowy cloth and pretty china. A roast goose stuffed with apples and prunes was steaming on it. Then the goose hopped from the dish, waddled across the floor, and came right up to her. And just then, out went the match, and there was nothing to be seen but the thick black wall. She lit another match. How it spluttered, how it blazed! She was sitting under a lovely Christmas tree. It was bigger and more beautifully decorated than the one she had seen through the glass doors at the rich merchant's house this very last Christmas. Thousands of candles gleamed upon its branches, and colored pictures looked down at her. The little girl stretched out both hands, and just then, out went the match, and all the Christmas candles rose higher and higher till she saw that they were only twinkling stars. One of them fell and made a bright streak of light across the sky. "Someone is dying," thought the little girl, for her old grandmother, the only person who had ever loved her, used to say, "When a star falls, a soul is going up to heaven." She struck another match against the wall. How it spluttered, how it blazed! This time, her grandmother appeared in the circle of flame. She saw her clearly, looking so gentle and happy. "Grandmother," cried the little girl, "oh, do take me with you. I know you will vanish when the matches go out. You will vanish like the warm stove, the delicious goose, and the beautiful Christmas tree." She hesitantly struck a whole bundle of matches because she wished to keep her grandmother with her a little bit longer. The light of the matches was so bright, and her grandmother had never before looked so big and beautiful. She lifted the little girl in her arms, and they soared in a hollow of light far, far above the earth, where there was no more cold, no more hunger, no more pain. In the cold morning light, they found her sitting in the corner between the houses with rosy cheeks and a smile on her face, holding burnt-out matches in her frozen hand. Poor her, so small. She must have tried to warm herself with those matches, they said, but they couldn't explain her frozen little smile, for they didn't know that she had met her grandmother last night, and together they had flown far, far away in a most beautiful hollow of light on that snowy New Year's Eve. The end. So guys, this is the end of the video. Please do subscribe, like, and share, and I'll see you next time. Bye!